Good morning. Today we're going to be working on time to quarter past the hour. So we're going to learn what that means today. Let's get started. Look at this analog clock. An analog clock is a clock that is shown in a circle and it's got numbers all around it. Right now, this clock shows 8 o'clock, and I know this because the hour hand, the small hand, is pointing to the 8, and the minute hand, the longer hand, is pointing up towards the 12. And just to review, if we count around the clock 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, when we get to 60, we start all over and set the minutes back to 0. So when we show 8 o'clock written, we can show it like this, 8, and then these 2 dots, a colon, 8, and 2 zeros. Where will the hands be pointing when the time is 11 o'clock? Well, the hour hand is going to move up to the 11, and I draw the arrow, I draw the hour hand to end right about at the edge of this circle. That helps me remember that the hour hand is shorter than the minute hand. And whenever we're talking about o'clock, a straight up o'clock, 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we know that the minute hand is going to be pointing up to the 12, which stands for 0 minutes. We're resetting the minutes. Where will the hands be pointing when the time is half past 11? Okay, so let's think about this. Half past means that the minute hand has traveled halfway around the clock. So if this is a full circle here, halfway around means we're here, right? Because it's like I split this whole clock in half. And half past 11, if we wrote it a different way, it would look like this, 11:30, and we can count to prove it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So my minute hand is in the right new place, but I need to change the hour hand to show half past 11 or 11:30. Well, if it were 11 o'clock, my hour hand would be pointing right at the 11. But what happens with the hour hand is as time goes by, as we move from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, the hour hand is very slowly moving from 11 to 12. It takes 1 hour for the hour hand to get from 11 to 12. So when it's halfway around the clock, when it's 11:30, my hour hand is going to be halfway between 11 and 12 because again the hour hand has traveled halfway from 11 to 12 and the minute hand has traveled halfway around the clock. Okay, so that's half past, and that's what it means when we measure time to 30 minutes. Now we're going to take a look at what quarter past the hour means. So let's take a look at this clock. How many minutes has the minute hand moved past the hour on this clock? Well, we can count by fives, right? And we can go 5, 10, 15. Okay, so I can read this time as 9 because the hour hand is just a little bit after 9. 9, 15, because I counted 5, 10, 15, and that's where my minute hand landed. 9, 15. When the minute hand is in this position, we can sometimes say that the time is quarter past the hour. Actually, we can say this anytime. But what I mean by sometimes say is that's one way to say it. We could say 9:15, or we could say quarter past 9. So why do we use this word quarter? It's kind of weird, right? If you think about how we split the clock in half a minute ago, there's my just about half. Okay. So that's each of these is a half. This is one half of the clock. This is one half of the clock. Well, we could split that half in half, right? And now we have four different parts. And each of these parts of the clock is 1/4. And so, it's kind of cool because we're thinking about fractions or parts of a whole as we're thinking about time. So each one of these is 1/4, 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. And another name for fourth is quarter. So we could say this is 1/4 of the clock, another quarter of the clock, a third quarter of the clock, and a fourth quarter of the clock. Okay, so all that talk about fourths and quarters is just to help you understand why we would say quarter past the hour. What are some different ways you could read or say the time shown on the clock? Well, we already talked about this. One thing we could say is 15 minutes past 9, or we could say 9:15, or we could say quarter past 9. How would we show this same time on a digital clock? Well, we write the hour here on the left side. Okay, so the hour comes first, and then here's our colon. And on the other side, we record the minutes. So this side is the hour. I'm going to put H for hour. And this side of a digital clock is the minutes. So how many minutes did we have? Let's count again. 5, 10, 15, 9, 15. Okay, so I hope this introduction helps you as you get started on your math work today. And you can always reach out to ask me any questions.